Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to our dear moment here at the SSVA, together with the Spiritist Society with Kardec Radio. Welcome. Let us get together as if we were in our centers, right? Especially the Spirit Society of Virginia, the Spiritist group in DC. Let us feel ourselves enveloped by those beautiful vibrations that have been built for almost a decade and a half and are inviting us to particular reflections, to the therapy for our souls. Today we are here to talk about the natural rights of all people. Doesn't it feel good when you think that you have rights that are, indisputable? We're still meditating which ones they are, and on earth it's still a journey to make it mainstream. We're going to talk about this and much more, but to prepare ourselves for these very therapeutic moments, we're going to read a message by Emmanuel, followed by a prayer, and then our team is going to lead us into reflections, into deep meditation about ourselves, our connection with God's laws. Okay? Welcome. So here it is. We have Emmanuel in the book, Our Daily Bread. The message is chapter 68. It's titled, It's Necessary to Wake Up. Wake up, you who sleep. Rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Paul to the Ephesians 5:14. A large number of both old followers and newcomers to Christian circles claim to have a very hard understanding and applying the teachings of Jesus. Some find the texts to be obscure, while others persist in literary squabbles. They get upset, they protest, and reject the divine bread, which is needed in an envelope in order to remain on earth. Nevertheless, these friends are not even aware that this is happening. They remain asleep, victims of the paralysis of their higher faculties. Significant, sanctifying divine invitations usually pass them by without being noticed. These distracted disciples see them as sacred events worthy of praise, but they soon forget all about them. The mind does not accept these invitations. It remains in a numbing sleep, incapable of analyzing or understanding. People need to ask themselves what they are doing, what they want, what matters they are attending to, and for what ends they are destined. It is imperative to examine oneself, to emerge from animality, and to arise to master one's own path. Large, supposedly religious masses go through the events of each day like ranks of unconscious sleepwalkers. They talk about God, faith, and spirituality, as if they were living in strange atmosphere of a dark nightmare. Shaken by the incessant currents of the river of life, they spin around in the eddy of events, blind, asleep, and half dead, until they awaken and get up through their own efforts so that Christ may shine on them. This message goes hand in hand with the topic of tonight. But before we begin, we will pray. And we pray not as a ritual. Oh, no, we spiritists have no rituals. We pray out of an exercise in our togetherness, an exercise in communing with God together. It's very difficult to pray together. It seems simple, but it's not. Because we need to follow word by word, thought by thought, whomever is leading the prayer. We don't have that discipline yet, but that's the purpose of this meeting, to help us discipline ourselves to that level. It's about mind over matter. It's up to us to excel at this point. And evolution, spiritual evolution, is also about that. So here's our first exercise of the night, our collective prayer. Dear God, we open the doors of our home to you. We welcome your messengers of love. We visualize them entering the doors of our home and helping us rebalance its energy fields, rescuing all those who are in greater need than ourselves, but also helping us open our minds, open our hearts to the inevitable truth. We are tired, truly weary of resisting the invitation to walk and work by your side. We want to be with you. That's our decision. We no longer want to be the prodigal son or daughter who enjoys the fantasies of life and comes back sick and tired. We want to be with you in health and wealth. We want to be with you to co-create this beautiful universe in the honor to be one of your heirs, unique as each one of us are. We pray in the joy of these moments, hoping that the whole world hears about the natural rights of all people, especially those who are feeling oppressed or repressed, put aside, ostracized. We hope that they hear the bells of their empowerment, that they have their own natural rights, and that we are all here attentive to cooperate in making it come true. We feel for those who are enslaved, even in modern ways, those who are home, feeling unheard and alone, those who are crying out loud and nobody believes them. We pray for them. We pray for the suicidal spirits. We pray for everyone who has their names in our book of prayers, those who have asked for spiritual treatments at a distance. And we are certain that you hear our call, our plea for help. Thank you so much. And so be it. You see, dear friends, we're talking about the natural rights of all people. So good, right? To feel that we have natural rights. It feels so good to know that, we are free in so many ways. But on earth, we're still fighting for those rights. Our children right now are learning at Cardiac Radio, at another channel at Cardiac Radio, and the Spirit Side of Virginia's Facebook page, the natural rights of all. They also learn about how we have the rights to eat, the rights to be educated, to go to school, and so many others, irrespective of our upbringing, our backgrounds. But it's much more than that. And we'll give an example. If you think about justice, because when we talk about rights, we talk about justice. Do you think you are a just person? Do you? Do you not? Okay, pause for a moment. This is just a teaser. Because right now, we're going to have a moment to discuss one question and answer of the Spirit's Book by Kardec. And then we'll be back to this while you're thinking, are you just? Do you think you're just? Let us then call Paloma, who is going to lead us into a refresher. It's the Spirit's Book moment, right, Paloma?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. It is the Spirit's Book moment. It is a teaser for us to go get the book and read, some of the questions, if not all the questions. There are a lot there. But today, quite an interesting question. This is what Kardec asked the spirits on question 900. Can he who constantly accumulates without doing good to anyone find an excuse in the fact that he will thus leave a larger fortune to his heirs? Meaning, can I justify keeping all the money, all the fortune I make, all the houses, all the cars, all the boats, because I'm going to leave it to my family? Isn't that what we do? And we put in, funny picture, but it's really not that far away from our day-to-day where we're thinking, I got to save for my family. I got to do a trust. I have to, make sure they're going to be well. But it's about the feeling, okay? It's not like, is it bad to have money? No, God gave it to us. But it's the feeling. Am I accumulating so that I don't share? Let us see what the spirits tell him. It says, such an excuse would only be a compromise with a bad conscience. Meaning, and we're going to learn this when we learn about natural rights, that we know what's good and bad. And we can justify to ourselves to do something, even when we know it's bad. So, the spirits are telling you it's an excuse. It's an excuse, and you're compromising with your own conscience, even though you know it's bad, it's not quite what you should do, but you're making an excuse. So, friends, when we're thinking about accumulating, let us think about accumulating the good, because that we know is aligned with God and with the good we share. No matter what we receive, God grants it to us, and God wants us to share, okay? Let us continue.
Thank you so much, Paloma. Let us now, as we are back into the rationale of the natural rights, what about it? Do you think you are just? What is to be just? Just as a teaser, because Luciana and Paloma will lead us into this and much more. In the Spirit's Book by Kardec, we've come to know of a revolutionary, explanation about justice. Justice is about respecting the rights of everyone. Wow. When you think of God's justice, when you think of God being just, are you afraid? It's because we don't understand what justice is all about. You see, there is much for us to understand. Justice is a law of God. To be just is to respect the rights of everyone. God is supremely just. He respects the rights of everyone. And what does that mean? What are the implications? So we're going to call Paloma to come back. And Paloma and Luciana are going to do a duet so we can study together about the natural rights of all people. If you have any question or comment, feel free to write here, because this is not a simple talk. It's a study that we're sharing with you, and we want to talk more about it.
So we're going to start by telling you a story from a book called Heaven and Hell. And this book has many, many, many stories at the second part of it. We're talking about the part about repentant criminals. Even though the specific case wasn't a criminal by human laws, okay? So remember, when we're talking natural laws and divine laws, some of it we already have in our human justice system, but not all of it. We're still far. So, example, some laws allow people to carry guns, to have guns. Divine law says no. Natural law says everybody has the same right to live, and us carrying a gun could inflict on somebody's right for their life, right? So let us look at this case. It's very interesting. And we'll bring you some highlights of about what happened to this person. So the communication happened in Bordeaux, March 1862. And it was with this spirit called Benoist. Pardon my French. I don't know if that's how we pronounce it. He died in 1704. And when he came to give this communication, he was really, really suffering, okay? For us to understand what the suffering was all about, Kardec started asking questions to the medium. And the spirit said that in his incarnate life, he was a faithless monk. So he wasn't per se robbing or killed anyone. He was a faithless monk. He said that he was poor and lazy, and that he entered the order to get a position. So he was smart. He was looking a way to find a way to have power. So he found a way. He got in. He didn't have money, so he couldn't, open something. He was poor. He got into the order, and he found himself in a power position. What did he do? He abused power. With the people that he encountered, because he was corrupt, he also corrupted others. He was also cruel. He would really, in silence, make people scared. He was violent. This was all under the human laws. Nobody was seeing it, right? But we encounter justice in the afterlife. Do you think we encounter justice in the afterlife? Let us think of these questions, because we're going to have follow-ups to this explaining. And it's very important for us to think about it. It is in our conscious. So let us trigger it, okay? So in the afterlife, his description of it is painful. He's feeling sensations all as if he was incarnated, but there isn't anything to satiate it, right? He is hungry. There's no food, but he's feeling so hungry and thirst. He wants water, but there's not one drop of water to help him. He says that his victims that now are obsessing him, they are looking for justice. What they think justice is. They say that they are stirring up the fire that devours him. Now imagine that picture. I put the fire there for us to try to visualize if we were feeling the fire devouring us, but without any relief from it. It's just constant. And he says that he's suffering tortures of hell. Now, if you need more image of this, if you have watched Nosso Lar, Astral City, André Luiz says the same thing about his time in the umbral, right? The voices, the cold, the feelings of, where the body was still trying to heal, the obsessors trying, his victims trying to get to him. If you need more visualizing than this, go watch Nosso Lar. But let us continue, because the communication, the dialogue goes further. The spirits asked, the medium asked the spirit, and I'm going to read to you the answer so we can feel it. So the question is, haven't you ever repented? So after he's been there suffering, he's saying, I'm suffering, I'm feeling it. He's being asked, haven't you ever repented? And he says, a long time ago, but it was only the result of my suffering. But since I was deaf to the cries of my innocent victims, the Lord is now deaf to mine, justice. Meaning he has, after suffering so much, he had to go through the suffering, he did repent. But he also understands that he committed crimes that now he has to pay for them. And now they say, well, you have recognized the Lord's justice. Trust in his goodness and plead for his help. And he says, the demons howl louder than I do. Cries choke in my throat. They fill my mouth with boiling pitch. I did, oh great. Can you imagine his pain? Now, friends, let us pause here before we continue. Why is he being allowed to communicate? He's being allowed. He doesn't know this. He doesn't understand why he's there, how the communication happens. He doesn't understand. All he knows is that he needs help. Please help him. But this help came because he repented. He doesn't need to understand the dynamics of how the help will come. It's already happening. He's already communicating. He's already receiving prayers. He's already being cared for, even though he can't see it. Okay, but that's why he's being allowed. God is merciful. He would never let him just stay in suffering forever. And we go to say that when we're talking about natural rights, all of us have the same rights. All of us. God sees us the same way. There isn't more or less or anything. God gives us the same rights. Now, if we infringe in someone else's rights, there are consequences, like happened in this case. So let us think of a couple more questions, and then we're going to move to the next part. Something for us to reflect. What is justice? Do all of us have the same rights? And how do we know what is right or wrong? You want to know the answer? Me too. Luciana, you can take it from here.
Okay. So, dear friends, what a case, right? And again, as we've been studying more and more, I will share my screen with you soon. But as we study more and more, we know that the book that we need to study is the book of the Spirit's book, that has so many information, will guide us with so much. Let me share the screen with you. Will guide us with all the questions, all the concerns that we have right there. Kardec, he's so wise. He was so grounded to earth, and he knew that we also have these questions. So in this case, you saw this man that was going through life, minding his own business, doing his things, thinking that no one knew, right? But we can do whatever we want. But Master Jesus, God, they will know exactly what we do. We were talking about natural rights of all people. So what does it mean? That we are all under the same rights. God creates something that is universal for all of us. It doesn't matter where you were born and what do you have in life. We are all the same in general. And for us to be able to understand a little bit, we have again the Kardec in the Spirit's book coming, bringing us question and answer. As we mentioned the other day, the book has more than 1,000 question and answer. And like Paloma was saying, it's important for us to start to bringing those questions in our mind, because that's how we exercise our brain. As we know, we don't utilize our brain as much as we should. So this book, it will help us to do the brain exercise and hopefully prepare us for our life and our graduation when we come to graduate with our disincarnation. So to be more clear about this equality that we have been talking the whole month, right? We've been studying about equality. We want to make sure we start to understand a little bit more about this issue, because the world's being very chaotic. So we're bringing the questions from Kardec. So he also went, he also went to ask on chapter 9 and item 8 about the law of equality. And we studied this question before, I believe, in the beginning of the month. And he was asking on question 803, are all men equal in the sight of God? And then he answers, yes, all tends towards the same goal. And God has made his love for the equal good of all. So we have the equal good for all. Everybody has the same right. You often say that the sun shines for all. And in saying this, you enunciate a truth much broader than more general application than you think. So we listen to this, right? We say, oh, the sun is shining for everyone. We hear, we pronounce, but we never meditate about this, right? We should start meditating about what we are listening from others and what we are saying to others. Do we really apply this? Do we really, in our daily life, believe that the sun is shining for all the same way? We need to think about it and meditate on this. And then he continues, all men are subject to the action of the same natural laws. All are born in the same state of weakness and are subject to the same suffering. And the body of the rich is destroyed like that of the poor. So it doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, it's gonna happen the same, right? When we die or when we leave. God has not given to any man any natural superiority in regards either to birth or to death, or are equals in his sight. So, friends, once again, we are trying to understand this equality. We might look different, we might live different, depending in what we can afford or not. But it's always important for us to see that this law, the nature laws, the law of natures comes in the base, like when we are born and when we die. So this is how it makes us equals. And if we bring it on the daily trial that we are going through life, in this school of life, you can notice that we are going through this pandemic. And you see, everyone is being leveled at the same. It doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're black, if you're white, or you're purple. It doesn't matter. We are being called to see the equality in us. As brothers and sisters, we are equal. And the pandemic came knocking on our doors to make sure we understand that. So if we were lost, here's a sign. We are the same. And this huge pandemic that is going on all over the world, all over this planet, is showing us, hey, since you didn't learn about equality, here's how you're going to learn about equality. So the pandemic came to call us. It's a wake-up call to put us in the same level. So we are being exposed to the natural laws, right? So we can see. But dear friends, our friend Kardec continue having questions. So then he moved to the chapter 11 in the item 10 with the law of justice, law of love and charity. And then we come to the natural rights of the justice. He comes and keep asking more questions. So that's why it's important for us to have this book and read one or two questions a day or one a day, because while we prepare, we study, we read those questions, there's so much that comes to your mind that you're like, oh, let me learn a little bit more about these questions, right? How am I doing regarding to this question? Am I aligned with the natural laws of God, or I'm way off, right? This is a way for us to keep us in the right direction as well. So Kardec comes and asks, on question 874, if justice be a law of nature, how is that men understand is so different, and that the same thing appears just to one and unjust to other? And the answer is, it is because your passion often mingle with the sentiment of debate and debase it. And as they do with the great part of the natural sentiments, causing you to see things from a false point of view. So, dear friends, again, our passion, what is that? This passion that comes from this life, this passion that might come from past life. There's many passions, right? If we analyze, how many passions, vice, things that make us not seeing the real truth, right? Because if I don't know the right thing, if I don't know what is aligned with God, with Jesus, we will make mistakes because we're going to be judging based to what we know. Because, as you know, our first school is our family. So if we grew up in a family in which has no teachings, no knowledge, no knowledge about the Creator, about God, about Master Jesus, about all this divine around us, how can we understand this law of justice? How can we understand the natural right of everyone? We cannot, right? So that is why it's very important to us to see what we are learning, to how we are being exposed to the real truth, right? Because, and also to understand those around us, because sometimes they don't know. They don't know anything different. Like we are evolving slowly. We are in our first grade right now, right? We are learning how to be better, how to make this law apply not only to me, but to others. So it's important for us to see this passion that we have. What makes us see the things that are not very right, right? And we make the not a right judge, and we're not very, we cannot judge or be just to others. Because the only one that can see the whole thing, it is God, right? Jesus. And in the mediumistic studies, we can see that the spirits, when disincarnated, they can see a little bit more of the truth because they don't have the body that ground them. But even then, they need to have extra help to be able to see the whole truth. Sometimes we disincarnated and is still living our lives blind, in not knowing the real truth. So what a great opportunity that we are having here in 2020 to be more called to stay home, called to study more, make this connection with Jesus. What a pleasure to be home and have those books in which we can study and get a little more knowledge, right? And we continue with the natural rights and justice. Another question, 875. How should the justice be defined? And Vanessa starts in her comment from the first message that we read. Justice consists in respect to the rights of others. So how am I respecting the rights of others? Because if we do not respect the rights of others, that will be hard for us to progress, right? So how should justice be defined? Justice consists in respect for the right of others. And it continues in the same questions. What determines those rights? And they said two things, human law and natural law. The men having made law in the harmony which they characterize their habits. Those laws have established rights that have varied with the progress and enlightenment. See, we need to be enlightened. As we evolve, as we know more about it, the laws start to changing. And nowadays we see that people are more exposed to knowledge. We're being able to go on the internet and have more information. And there's things that are happening in places that we'll never imagine, like bad things and good things as well, that we're exposed instantly. So it's very important for us to have this knowledge, right? Because once we have this knowledge, we can progress and change our laws. So with the progress of the Enlightenment, the laws change. So your laws at this day, though, is still far from perfect. So imagine we're still far away to be having a perfect law, but we're working on it. That's why we need to have respect to all of those, right? To all our brothers and sisters, because we're still working on it. There's a long way to go. So we're still far from perfect. Perfect. No longer consecrate what were considered as right in the Middle Ages. So we already progressed from what was used to be in the Middle Ages. And even in this reincarnation, friends, we can see when we were born and how we change as we grow. If we are growing, being exposed to the teachings, to the knowledge of the Master Jesus, we are changing ourselves. We should be able to change ourselves and transform ourselves to better, right? So we are align ourselves to the Creator. So those rights which appears to your used to appear to you was monstrous and appeared just and natural and all that time. So it used to be bad to then, but it was normal. Like people used to kill, people used to go hunt, they used to do so many things, but for that time it was good. But for us it's barbaric. So the rights established by men are not, therefore, always conformable with just. Moreover, they only regulate certain social relations, while in the private life, they are an immense number of acts that are submit only to the tribunal of conscience. So again, friends, we need to learn, know, evolve more morally in order for our knowledge to be better, in order to be able to change those laws, in order to so we can progress. Because if we do not do those things, we'll be stuck and we were not being aligned with our master. So we always have to find ourselves to being aligning with the Creator. And Kardec is a man, a missionary that came to this century, right? Like to this, bringing to us, and today in 2020, bringing to us those things that he was asking way before we imagine, right? Imagine if for us nowadays, 2020, those are still questions that we ask or don't even think about it. But as we study together here as a group, as a community, those questions are really making us think about it, right? How just am I? How am I living my life basing on these teachings, on these divine teachings, right? So Kardec was able to bring to us all this information that we still learning. We still need to feel. We're learning, we're reading about it, we try to rationalize, but we still need to start feeling, right, what it means. So then he comes again and he asks, this is a long one, but independently of the right established by human laws, what is the basis of justice according to natural law? And he comes and brings Christ, right? Christ told you, do unto others whatever you would that others should do unto you. God has placed in the heart of men as the true rule of all justice, the desire which you feel to see his own rights respect. When uncertain as to what he should do in regards to his fellow creature in any given conjuncture, let each man ask himself what he would what he would wish to have done to himself under the same circumstances. God could give him a safer guide. God could not give him a safer guide than his own conscience. So, dear friends, there you go. This is the base of everything, right? The golden rule. How I will know that I'm doing right? Just think about it. How would you like people to be treating you at your workplace, at your family? No matter what you're doing, you always need to be able to make this connection between you, your heart, how you feel, in order to you expose that to your brothers and sisters. So Christ came and told us. So that's why Jesus in the home, doing the gospel, studying all Kardec's books will help us to succeed in life. In life, those are like our manuals, right? We have the book Taught in Life, and is a guide for us, like a small guide that will teach us so much. And we have the book of Heaven and Hell that we were studying today. There's so many books that really, really get to guide us, help us to be successful in life. So, in this question, he continues saying, like, do unto others is a long one. But if you focus and do what you want for you, you will succeed. And then the next one is, does the necessity of living in society impose any special obligation on mankind? And yes, of course, right? When we live in society, there's a lot that comes to us. But the answer from the Spirit is yes. And the first of this is to respect the right of others. Again, we need to respect the right of others. He who respects those rights will always be just. In your world, where so many neglect to practice the law of justice, you have recourse to reprisal, and this causes trouble and confusion in a human society. Social life gives rights and imposes corresponding duties. So if we're living in society, we need to respect and also being respected. But then again, respecting others, we need to breathe in and out when we are trying to respect others, dear friends, because it's not easy. And I learned, thank you, of the studies of the Spirit Society of Virginia. We learn. So that's why we go there. That's why we come here every Friday, right? So we can learn. And then we learn that respecting others is respecting them with the decisions that they made. They have the right to choose what they think is right for them. But I have to be the one also to be more tolerant and listen and respect their choices. It's not like I respect you if you do what I want you to do. So if not, I don't want anything to do with you. So this is hard. Like, we're talking about respect, and saying it is easier than put in practice. But we need to learn how to respect ourselves, right? Remember, God gave us our body. Is the first thing that we need to take care of it. How is my relationship with my body? Am I respecting my body? Am I nourishing my body? And we also have a soul. How respectful I am to my soul. Am I nourishing this soul? Right? And then from there we go and respect others, because if we don't know how to respect ourselves, our primary obligations that Jesus, God, entrusting us, it will be hard for us to reflect on this into our brothers and sisters, right? That's why, like the question before was saying, apply What you want to apply to you, to the others. That way it facilitates a little bit, because we don't want anything bad to us, right? Hopefully. There are some people, they injure themselves, but they need psychiatric help. But like, if we are normal, wealth, without any mental issues, we won't hurt ourselves. We want something good, right? So if we think about this way, we want something good to us, we'll do it, something good to us. And as a result, we're also going to be respecting. And Kardec continued, if it is possible for a man to be under an illusion as to the extent of his rights, what is there that you can show him that their true limit? So the limit of right, which he would recognize on the part of his neighbor towards himself under similar circumstances, and vice versa. And into this question it continues, but if each attributes to himself the rights of his fellow creatures, what becomes of a subordination to superiors? What not, would not such a principle be anarchical and destructive of all power? And this is very interesting, right? When he says, like, do unto others and vice versa. And then it continues like, but what's going to happen with the power, right? If we are going to apply to this? This is a very important question. And he continues saying, natural rights are the same for all men, from the smallest to the greatest. God has not fashioning some men from a finer clay than other, and all are equals in his sight. Natural rights are eternal. The rights which man has established perish with his institution, but each man feels distinctly his strength or his weakness, and will always be conscious of a sort of defense towards him whose wisdom or virtue entitles with him to respect. It is important to mention this in order that those who think themselves superior may know that are the duties that will give them a right to defense, to difference. There will be no insubordination when authority shall be the attribute, only to supervision, superior wisdom. So here it goes. We also had this question in our mind once we read, right? Because if we don't read, we don't even think about it sometimes. So if we read those books with a lot of questions, and that's what we need to do. We are on the planet to progress in this school, and a good student, as all the educator and all friends of mine that are teachers, they say those students that have questions, they're really participating on the class. They're reading a tune with what I'm teaching. So if we start making a lot of questions, not out of respect, not being disrespectful to anyone, but to exercise our reasoning to make sure we are aligning ourselves with these natural rights and with everything, because those books again came on our hands to help us. Those are tools to help us to live better and be better beings when reincarnated. So here's the last question for us to meditate about. And I really want you guys to take time on this pandemic to read the Spirit's book. If you already study, start meditating each question. It will help us to be better. So in this question, to finalize the natural rights and justice in this item of the Spirit's book, Kardec come again with the ask and with the question: what will be the character of the man who should practice justice in all its purity? And the answer is beautiful. He would be truly righteous after the example of Jesus. So, Jesus, dear friends, as we learn from Jesus in the home, from the gospel, Jesus is our guide and model. So, if we are mistaken, if we are in doubt, if we do not know what to do, we call Jesus. Jesus is the one that will guide us through our lives, incarnated or disincarnated life. Jesus is the one that will help us. And he continued, for he would practice the love of the neighbor and charity, without which there can be no real justice. So, dear friends, we need to love our neighbors. Who is our neighbors? Our neighbors, it starts at home. It's going to be our family. It's going to be the ones close to us. It's going to be the ones that work with us, the ones that are in touch with us, no matter what type of relationship we have. Those are our neighbors. Those are the ones that we need to love and we need to respect no matter what. We need to watch more movies, more readings about Jesus' life in order for us to really make this connection with Jesus, because Jesus was very loving, caring, and he was always doing charity. He was not picking who he was going to help. Remember, he came here for the sick, for the ones that need his help, and he was there, always helping. So he was always being just. He was always open. And look how beautiful it is to know that we have a chance to know about Jesus' life. And this is big. Many doesn't have any idea, right, about Jesus. That's why we need to always be so grateful for being able to have those teachings, having the center, having a beautiful community that work together in order to come and share the good news with everyone. Because once we get to know about Jesus, Kardec, Chico Xavier, all these illuminated spirits, it brings us closer and more fine, like making us very aligned to the divine. And so, dear friends, this is how Kardec is helping us, right? Kardec is helping us how to become friends more aligned with our Jesus, more equals, right? And as we know, we may look different, but we are all the same in the sights of God.
Thank you, Luciana. Thank you also, Paloma. And dear friends, as we are here discussing this, let us go back to the first question. Are you just? We often think, I'm so fair. Life is not fair. Who is fair? Well, according to the spirits, the only one just is God. He's the just, the fair one. We are not there yet because we don't respect everyone's rights yet. We don't. And we think, oh, okay, people can do it, but then we don't respect their rights. Even Jesus, as Luciana is saying, is the model, the divine model for us of justice. He respected even Judas' nonsensical decision to do what he did. He could have come and said, Judas, come here. What are you doing? I've put together this planet billions of years ago. Are you crazy? You're out of your mind. He didn't say that. He warned. He explained, but he couldn't interfere in the free will that God gave Judas to do what he did. That is justice. Is it hard? Super hard, because there is an in between. I know people, especially parents, who think, I respect my child's freedom, and they are very permissive. No, that's not justice. That's not respecting people's rights. That's carelessness. Because until children reach their particular age of 18 and above, they need to do what is good for them, and they don't have the right to choose certain things because it may be detrimental to them. But to be permissive is one thing. To be respectful of people's rights and just is another. God is not permissive. But what about the crimes? Well, we can't discuss the limits of our rights because this is in God's designs. But one thing we know, there is limit even for committing crimes. We know that even Hitler had a plan to bring the hydrogen bomb to life. Thanks to the good spirits and the intervention of the spirits, he didn't see it coming. He didn't understand how the scientists were already putting it together. Thank God, because there is limit to our free will, but there is free will, and we need to respect. Nowadays on Earth, we all know that there are particular social inequalities that need to be arranged. Today, here at SSVA, we close a whole month of discussions at Cardiac Radio, since its anniversary as well, discussing about the rights of everyone, the need to bring equality forth, and to everyone, irrespective of gender and sex, socioeconomic status, political status, whatever we name it, no matter the category, the natural rights of us all. Our earth won't progress until we come to an agreement that we are equal and that we have to respect people's rights. Paloma and Luciana have extensively explained this to us today, and we're going to bring before the pastors Daisy and Carol, who have taught the children about it, right, Daisy and Carol? You want to tell a little bit about?
Right. Yes, we actually told the children about the fact that the law of justice is a universal law, and we showed them the Spirit's book and Little Kardec as designed by Louise Hu pedagogically for children. And we also brought the golden rule, telling them that to be fair, universally speaking, and to be fair in a God-centered fashion, we are to do to others what we would like to receive, the golden rule. And we also discussed many scenarios with them, with the children, for them to understand that we need to also respect other people's rights. Not only do we need to advocate for our own right, but we also are being called by God to respect other people's rights. Right, Daisy?
That's right, Carol. It was a beautiful lesson. And as Carol said, we brought hand in hand what we saw here in the adults lesson as well. We brought to the children, and we finalized with a beautiful activity at the end where we invite them, well, Jesus invite them to be agents, so to teamwork with Jesus. And we invite the children to think about that a sentence, I have the right to, and they should complete the sentence, and so do all children. So really to close this beautiful month, as you said, Vanessa, as we also taught the children that we have rights, we are all equal, but we do have to respect the rights of others too, so we can live in a peaceful planet. So it was a beautiful lesson, and they are invited to continue throughout the week practicing it And I think all of us, we can continue practicing it, being also agents of Jesus on earth.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We want to remind everyone who is watching us that we have a kind of a contest going on for children at Cardiac Radio for Kids and the SS Virginia, which is about the miraculous art. And I'll see if I show it to you, because if you are a parent or an educator, you are encouraged until the end of August to join this effort. It's a beautiful effort to make children meditate on what they are doing. Yes, to meditate on what they are doing with the life when they are watching cartoons, for example. So I'll share here quickly with all of you this flyer. Okay, so here it is. We have the Miraculous Art, and it's submitted until the end of August, children from 6 to 18. And it's about creating an art piece or write, mixing the characters of the cartoon, the Miraculous Ladybug, and the keywords in Spiritus mind, spiritual influence, spiritual obsession, telepathy, good and evil. So here is an opportunity for all of us to encourage our children to do. And today we received beautiful news from the first one who submitted is a child from Ireland, and then we have today the Spiritist friends in Spain. They put the announcement in Spanish, and they are also participating. We were rejoicing before the program because we just received the news, and it's good. Salvador Martinez, who is coordinating the efforts of Spiritism in Spain, he mentioned how important it is for his own children who are preteens. And he said, you know, what a genius idea to make them watch that cartoon and seek for the Spiritist keywords. It's a beautiful exercise, and only the parents and educators who are really there ready, they recognize the importance of really teaching our children all the time about things. And I'll finalize, since we're talking about equality, social inequalities, and the importance of changing everything, building a new world, in a book named Family, not translated into English yet, of course. And this beautiful book brings several messages through Chico Xavier, and there's a particular one that is very promising before we finalize. It says that if we want to change things in the world, we really need to change at childhood level. And Emmanuel explains, the child is like a piece of spiritual land that will return what it learns, invariably according to the received sowing. So if we want to change social inequalities, probably adults will still have a hard time. I know at the legislature level, we need to work hard, but we need to go to the beginning levels, to our children, and disseminate these new proposals of social equalities to really lead the new generation into that direction. There's no other way. It's much faster to focus on that way than trying to change the minds of those who are banking on social inequalities. That's the reality of the matter. And of course, we have multiple directions and strategies to be practical. But if we want a single strategy that can be very effective, we go straight to our children. And if we have a strategy that can really bring that about in that new generation, soon we're going to see that sprouting in our society. Okay? So thank you, Paloma. Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Daisy. We're now going to invite you to the final moments when we are going to do our spiritual classes and prayer all together. Okay, friends? So let us join heart to heart and pray. Remember, We are here. The Spiritist Center is not closed. It's in your house right now. Whoa. Can you imagine? The Spiritist Center expanded so much, so much. So it's in our homes. Let us feel it and open the doors for the good spirits now to really assess us in the inner vibrations of ourselves. Okay? Let us go. Let us all now visualize the healer of all healers on earth, Jesus Christ, who heals us with his vibrations of love. We visualize his sacred heart emanating loving rays of healing. The warmth of his light envelops us from head to toe. We feel that the warmth of his light dissolves clusters of difficult energies, feelings that are toxic to us. His healthy vibrations help us calibrate ourselves. He is the perfect instrument of God on earth, calibrating us to his wisdom. And we visualize that our hearts are united in healing light with his heart. Those vibrations expand, evolve, enveloping our homes in new health. We visualize that loving and warm light expanding through the walls, reaching our neighbors, enveloping everyone in healing. We visualize that from our neighbors, that light of healing love travels through the streets, throughout our cities, from our cities to our states, and from our states to our countries, from our countries to our continents, from our continents to the earth. And the heart of Jesus enveloping us all on earth in soothing vibrations, bringing relief to the pains and afflictions of all. In his kind and sweet energies, we bathe ourselves. in rejuvenating energies. Feeling the youthfulness of His presence. We raise our thoughts to God in deep gratitude. Dear God, thank you for sending the loving and sweet Master to us, because you are loving and sweet, kind, and yet firm in your educational methods, and persistent in your invitation to co-create with you. What a universe, beautiful, ever expanding. And we thank you today especially for reinforcing that we never regress. On the contrary, we always progress. And a new hope that it gives to us, that we're never alone, never forsaken, that we're so loved. We need to be attentive to recognize your love. And at the beginning of this session, you asked us to stay awake. And we hope we wake up to the call of love, without which there's no purpose in life. May we love ever more today than yesterday, a love that is all-encompassing, just, respecting people's rights of being, respecting one another, as we are all equally children of yours. Count on us, dear God. We've discovered that we love you, and we want to love you even more by respecting your creation in us and everywhere in this universe. In the blessings of this moment, we thank you for the beloved spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists who have been working hard to rescue those who are suffering, hardened spirits that need a break from their coldness, reminding themselves that they are children of yours, and that the pains and the sores of yesterday are gone, and they are also given a new beginning. May we stay under your guidance, feeling your protection as you grant us the permission to close these moments of prayer, of study, of togetherness. And so be it. Thank you so much, friends, for being with us here together. A big hug to you. And of course, if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to share with us. We are here at Cardiac Radio, always nourishing our souls, and the Spirit Side of Virginia is truly grateful for being with you as well. Thank you, friends.